I'm a serial entrepreneur in science, technology. If you've Googled me, some of you have heard my story, so apologies for that. But if you've Googled me, you'll find a Marcelo Bravo with 2 L's. He's a male stripper. It's not just any male stripper. He's at the top of his industry, leader of the. He's the key person of influence of male stripping. I'm the Marcelo Bravo with 1 L, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. Keeping that in mind, I started in the past 10 years a number of businesses. 2 of those companies I took public, as Daniel explained, to the AIM market, one in material science. The company I'm now the chief technology officer and founder is a pharmaceutical company. One of my companies also went into administration. So I've had my experiences, and out of those experiences, I've created my framework, which I put in a book, which I call Dream, Design, Surf. Now, how many of you here are entrepreneurs or building a business? Most of you. Actually, all KPIs are entrepreneurs of one sort or the other. My framework helps entrepreneurs move from idea to global company very, very rapidly. If you follow my process, you will end up in some time, it's going to take some work, with a fundable or self-funding proposition. That's an example of a pitch. And I wasn't trying to tell you my book, I was just giving you an example of a pitch. A pitch is a statement of a solution to a problem with a credible reason why. So all commercial products are a pitch, all commercial copy is a pitch. So there's a problem, starting new ventures is risky. The solution, dream, design, surf. The credible reason why, well, this smiling guy in the back that's done it before. So that's a pitch. And Daniel invited me here to talk about perfect pitch because he knows that I'm an entrepreneur and I make a living out of pitching. Entrepreneurs pitch all the time and you get what you pitch for. You pitch all the time and you get what you pitch for. Now, you don't pitch in a vacuum. You pitch in a context. And my context is entrepreneurship. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I'm going to talk about things that are important to entrepreneurs. I'm going to talk about dreams. I'm going to talk about success, failure. And then at the center, I'll talk about perfect pitch. Why perfect pitch? Because you pitch all the time and you get what you pitch for. The first step in the KPI process is perfect pitch. The first step in my process, I use different language. It's the same thing. I call it a compelling winning concept. That's the language of my industry. I used to work for Procter & Gamble. Compelling winning pitch. And I'll tell you what that is. But let's start with entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? For me, it's a voyage. It's a trip. It's going somewhere. And you start imagining a destination, and then you go there. You start with a dream. Now, entrepreneurs, the difference with entrepreneurs is that entrepreneurs take action on their dreams. So we need to understand where those dreams are coming from. I believe that entrepreneurial dreams come from distress. There's a problem, and you find that solution. There has to be a problem, something that wants to be improved, a service that is, poor, a product that, a mousetrap that is not working. You find problems and you convert those into opportunities by establishing a solution. I actually believe that the real powerful entrepreneurial dreams come from personal distress, something very personal, so a drama of some sort. I'm going to mention 3 people. Stephen Jobs, already mentioned, Abramovich, and then a guy called Shingren Shi. I don't know if you've heard about at least 2 of them, and they have 2 things in common. One of them, obviously, they're self-made billionaires. The other one, does anyone know? The 3 of them were either orphans or they were abandoned by their parents. So imagine at some stage, way in the past, when they were little kids, these people were abandoned, and how they feel. They must have been extremely lonely, sad, perhaps angry. And out of that crucible, and I find this remarkable, out of that crucible came these ideas that changed my world, and I believe yours as well. Now, I'm not saying you need to be an orphan to be an entrepreneur. I'm saying that you need to harness your own reality and find what's driving you, convert it into positive energy for you. To understand what's driving you, you have to go sometimes way back to the past, way back. And I'm going to take you back to 1975. And in 1975, I was in real trouble, and it was long ago. I'd been expelled from school. My father was in exile. All kinds of things were falling apart around me. I'm from Chile, and in the 70s we had a situation. So we had a military, for political reasons, all these things happened to me and my family. Things were dark, but I had a dream. And obviously I wanted to get the hell out of there. A lot of people wanted to. But I had another dream. I wanted, for some reason, I don't know where this came from, I wanted to go to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. For some reason I had heard from somebody, the older brother of a friend, whatever it was, that this was the best school to be an engineer, to study engineering. And I wanted to go there. I was not in school, didn't speak English, didn't have any money. I decided to harness all my effort and all my energy and all my resources to make that happen. It never occurred to me that I could possibly fail. I'll tell you what happened, but I want to talk a little bit about failure and actually fear of failure. Because fear of failure is one of the biggest deterrents from making things happen. Starting a business or growing your business or changing things that you're doing, and it kind of you fell into that zone of comfort. So fear of failure or success. For me, and this is my philosophy, they're just labels. They're just name tags we assign, meaning we assign to an event. Events are happening, and events really just are. If you look at them from here, they may look like a failure. If you look at them from here, they may look like a success. It's relative. I'm going to explain this by a story, and it's a story of my first company in the UK. It's a company called Superfoods. And the story is that I worked for Procter & Gamble for a long time. I'm a scientist, so I was doing research and development. I started a little business on the side, was driving my wife crazy. I was, had a full corporate life and then doing this thing in the evening and then on weekends. Some of you may have gone or maybe going through the same thing. So I said, okay, I'm going to do one thing. It's going to be my company, but I need to reinvent it, and I need to reinvent myself because I'm a scientist. So I came to the UK to go through business school. So I came to London Business School. And working from business school, I ended up working with the guy that was running food and beverage for Procter & Gamble in the US. P&G had tried to grow the food and beverage business by acquiring businesses and then innovating. And they spent a lot of money, a lot of time developing a new technology. This was a fat that would not be absorbed by your body, so you could put it in crisp and things like that. The program failed, in test market, crisps were fantastic, they tasted great, but 1% of the people that were taking these crisps actually got diarrhea. And that was the end of it. But these guys ended up with 3,000 patents in functional nutrition. And this was late 90s, when functional nutrition was just coming up. And I became very interested. After London Business School, I ended up in Boots, in corporate strategy, actually, Boots the chemist. And I saw the opportunity to put these two companies together. Let's take that technology that didn't go to market, and let's put it to market through Boots, via novel health foods and this and that. I tried to do a joint venture, it didn't happen, but I saw the opportunity to make something happen. These two companies couldn't work together, but an entrepreneur could certainly pull it out from here and put it here. So I negotiated my exit from Boots, and I started this company called Superfoods. I left one day, and I actually worked from Boots on this range, and then I left one Friday, and then the next Monday I was talking to the buyers about the range that they had helped me design. And that was my start with that company, and things got off to a good start. We were in Boots, which was great. Then we went to Holland & Barrett, then we went to Sainsbury's, then we were exporting to Australia and to South Africa. All was good, but the business model was wrong. I was trying to build a brand, and it's very hard in the UK to build a brand with retailers. I needed more cash to support the brand on the shelf than I was generating. So I went to raise finance. And I didn't have much experience raising finance. The first time you're going to raise finance is really hard because I didn't have the track record, all that stuff. So I was raising finance, which is, this was in the Midlands, and I was trying to raise a couple of £100,000 or 300,000 pounds. 2 weeks before closing the round, the VC pulled out, and I was in real trouble. Not only that, part of the story is that while I was starting this business, my wife also gave birth to twins, which is perfect timing, and then her father-in-law in South America was not well. She traveled with the twins to be next to his father that was dying, and she never came back. So I ended up commuting back and forth. So I was commuting back and forth to South America, a week here, a week there, on the phone, running out of money, tension in the family, blah, blah, blah. You could say things were not going according to the business plan. It was a crisis. I was in a real crisis. But I was old enough then to understand that these were just events. Crisis for me is events that are kind of like happening just very fast and where you lose your perceived control. And events are opportunity, depending on how you look at them. A lot of events going past you very fast are more opportunity, so I knew that. So I went surfing, and that's where the surf thing comes in, which means I surfed that crisis and converted that crisis into, perceivably my biggest success. And I'll tell you what happened. But first, let me go to the next one, which is this company, which is the first company where I really put together my model fully. This company called Oxford Advanced Surfaces, and this is a material science, nanotechnology company. What happened is that I ended up moving to Oxford. A few weeks in, I met a scientist. I introduced myself to the university. Look, I'm here to either invest as an angel or try to help people with ideas, whatever. I got introduced to a scientist, to a few of them. But there was one guy that I really liked, both chemists. And this guy had been running around for a couple of years or more with an idea that no one understood. And he presented me the idea, and I scratched my head hard because it was a bunch of equations, right? It was carbene, alkene, chemistry, blah, blah, blah. No one understood it. I didn't understand it, But I went and talked to a few people in industry and converted that chemistry into a very powerful pitch to industry. We decided to create a company. So I had moved to Oxford in March. In June, we had a company. By September, I had raised 600,000 pounds for that company on the back of a few slides and on the back of this pitch that was so compelling both to investors and to industry. Things were happening. Now, the company was totally virtual, so it's just myself, website, business cards, and went around the world, talked to about 60 companies, some in Asia, some in Europe, some in North America, and pitched. Now, the way it worked is that I actually sat down with people from DuPont and people from Unilever and people from Samsung, describe what this technology could potentially do, work with them to come up with the opportunities. And out of that, I put together a portfolio of joint development agreements. So these companies were actually paying me money to develop potential applications that would benefit them with using our technology. That all became very interesting. It meant also I needed to actually do work. I needed a real company behind me. I had to start recruiting. I needed to raise more finance. So I went to raise finance. And I was looking for a couple £1 million. One thing led to another. I started raising finance in July, August, 06, in 07. And in December 07, I ended up on the AIM market raising £6 million. So that was, I had 7 people working with me, £7 million in the bank. More importantly, I understood the elements that were, the driving forces behind this rapid move from idea in March, April 06 to now listed company on AIM with $6 million in the bank in December 07. And that's what enabled me to put together my framework. So let me talk a little bit about that. And I have a slide. I may have a slide or two. That's it. So the first element was the pitch. There was something I got right on the pitch. So a pitch, we already know, it's a statement of a solution to a problem with a credible reason why. All pitches have that structure here or there. Now, what is a perfect pitch? Does anyone know what a perfect pitch is? A perfect pitch is going to be your pitch after you work with Mike Harris for a day. That's the answer. Simple as that. Mike Harris, I don't know if you've heard about him or Google him. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He's built £3 billion businesses. But he's a master also of the art of pitching. He's created his own framework, which he calls perfect pitch. I consider myself kind of like a Jedi apprentice of pitching. He is Yoda, right? So if you come to KPI and if you only do that module with him, you'll get your value worth. And that's perfect pitch. Now, what is perfect winning pitch, which is where I come in, I guess. The details of that are one of the chapters in this book, if you're interested. That's a pitch. But the essence I'm going to give to you right now. So a perfect winning pitch is a pitch that is validated by your customers. It's validated by your customer. By that I mean, you present your pitch to your customer, and they're so excited, so impressed, that they're willing to give you money up front for that idea. even when it's just an idea that doesn't exist yet. And the validation comes in the form of money in your pocket. That's a perfect winning pitch. Now, how do you get a perfect winning pitch? There's only one way, and that is by working with your customers. You get close to your customers. You understand what their problems are, what their needs, what their aspirations. You understand what they want to buy and how they want to buy it. In fact, the perfect pitch is given to you by your customers. Now, I'm going to say something very important now, and this is more about the attitude when you pitch. Okay? When I'm pitching to you, I'm not pitching to you my dream. When I pitch to you, I'm pitching to you your dream. It's about your dream. If I can pitch to you your dream, I have a perfect winning pitch. Okay? Now, how do I know what your dream is? That's the work, right? Anyone here from planet Vulcan? I'm sure there's at least one person. Okay, so okay, you can stay there. In planet Vulcan, the way to find out what your dream is to use the Vulcan mind melt. I'm going to demonstrate. I need a member of the audience. I want to do that with you. 3 fingers, right? You've seen this if you follow Star Trek at some stage. Can I do this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. 3 fingers right here, and you can read this person's mind. Can you think about business, please? You're making me blush here. Yeah, all right.
It's good as
Your privacy is protected, right? So, I need to get inside his head and get his dream. Now, we're on planet Earth. How do you get to understand your dream and your dream and your dream on planet Earth? Only one way. You go and talk to people. And you do that before you start writing your pitch. You don't write a pitch in an office on a table. You go out there and talk to people. Actually, you talk this much, and you listen this much. And if your customer is DuPont, well, you got to somehow figure out how to get into DuPont and go and talk to the technologists or to the marketing people that are trying to do something and have a problem. That's the secret of perfect winning pitch. Simple as that. Remarkably, a lot of people just don't do it. They have great ideas and they never listen to the feedback. That's all. Now let me finish my story. So Oxford Advanced Surfaces, public on 2007, raised £6 million. It was before the market crash of 2008, and the market was crazy. It was very frothy. And people started playing, and we were selling a huge dream. It was a great, great pitch. And our share price just went through the roof, and it reached a market cap of 170-something million. Success, failure, I was unfazed. In fact, I was terrified because this was people speculating on you and so on. But the only thing you do when you have a market capitalization like that, and you're in the public market, you're going to raise more money. So I went to raise more money. And it was right before the crash, I raised another 5 million. Then the market crashed, AIM crashed. The company crashed, but went down to something like 50. The reality is that the company had 12 million pounds in the bank by then. And that's plenty of resource to go and do what they needed to do, which is demonstrate their hypothesis. All these early stage companies are just a hypothesis at that stage. I moved on in 2009, and I became Chief Technology Officer of Oxford Pharma Science. Now, where did that company come from? It's a company I had started alongside Oxford Surfaces and had been incubating in the background. Where did that happen? Well, I'll take you back. Remember, I was with Superfoods. The company was about to go bust, and I needed to act fast. And what I did was that I dismantled the company. I fired everybody, including myself. I made myself a non-exec, and I did a deal with one of my distributors who took control of the brand. And that was a huge, huge gift for me, because I had been running this company like this for like 2.5 years. And when you're doing like this, you don't see anything else. And there's all these opportunities flying by, and I was just missing them. And all of a sudden, I had freedom. The brand was continuing to trade, but I had the freedom to do other things. And I moved to Oxford. I was looking for a place close to science, close to entrepreneurship, good place to move the family back to. But B, I had the chance to look at other opportunities. And you heard the story. Weeks after I arrived in Oxford, I met this guy. A year and 4 months later, we had a company on AIM with 6 million in the bank. So that crisis in Superfood, had that VC given me the money, I would have never spotted this other opportunity. And that was a huge lesson for me. Crisis leading to opportunity. So let me just take you further back to 1975. So here I was, 1975, big trouble. I was standing in front of the American embassy. In 1975, you could actually just show up at the American embassy. You know, you could knock the door and go in and meet people. The world was different. And that was my first pitch. And I went in and told them my problem, and I wanted to go to study in North America and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, yeah, well, go upstairs and talk to Mrs. Brown. You know, she'll help you. So I went and met Mrs. Brown, and she was this lady that ran a scholarship program for American universities. And that. She explained me what I needed to do. A lot of work. I had to learn English to begin with. I had to take these exams. As it happened, I did very, very well. And I got a scholarship to go to the US. I was offered admissions to MIT, but I didn't have enough money to go to MIT. And I ended up going to another university. When I was leaving the country, I felt very unsuccessful that I wasn't going to MIT, my big dream. To my friends who were stuck in Chile and some still in jail, I looked very successful. So anyway, the other day, I have 2 kids, and you know, they were interested in building a robot. So we went to the internet, we started browsing stuff. There's all kinds of stuff about building your robot on the internet. So then I said, look, if you're really serious about this, you know, you got to learn some electronics, you got to do some software programming, some mechanics. In fact, if you're really, really serious, you got to think about going to MIT. And it's 9-year-old, right? And so then, what is MIT? Well, so I told my kids the MIT story. At the end, they were really sad. You know, Dad, your biggest dream, you never achieved it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, had I gone to MIT, would have not ended up in Procter & Gamble, would have not ended up in Venezuela where I met your mother, you would not exist. So, you know, the fact that I failed getting to MIT means that I'm here talking to you and having all this fun, my biggest success. It's very important for entrepreneurs to have their own measure of success. You know, what success means to you. You need to know. And that's, I think, my main message. For me, success means kids that are trying to build a robot and that are dreaming about going to MIT. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.